What the fuck? Like, what the actual fuck? This was without a shadow of a doubt the most shocking chapter of Eden Zero of all time. I had to take a good 15 to 20 minutes after reading this chapter to just process what I just read. But let me just get into this because I have a lot to talk about, okay? So this chapter opens up with Xiao Mai giving the most daunting preliminary speech. She's talking about despair, terror, nightmares, hopelessness. And at the end of the speech, she says, when suffering pain greater than any they'd felt before, what will Shiki do? And after reading this speech, I knew that the last chapter was not the end of the horribleness. So then it goes to Weiss after he just got his arm cut off. And Phi is cackling. He's laughing his ass off, dude. And Weiss is just screaming from the pain. But it eventually gets to the point where it's too much and he just passes out. And an interesting thing happens here. Jin actually turns around and walks away. He doesn't want to see any more of what's going down because he doesn't have fond memories of mutilation. And we gotta remember that Jin is an android. He's half human and half robot. So he probably went through a bit of dismemberment in his time. He probably got an arm or a leg or maybe both cut off, and that's why he is an android. I really want a Jin backstory, bro. I want a whole chapter dedicated to that backstory, maybe even 2. But enough about that, it's time to focus back on the chapter. So since Weiss is passed out, Drakken Joe tells his men to take Weiss to the sickbay and not to kill him. So thank God Weiss is still alive and he's still good. But after seeing what Weiss just went through, Hamura and Rebecca can't help but start crying. That despair and hopelessness that Xiao Mai was talking about in the beginning of the chapter is starting to take over both Rebecca and Hamura. And Drakken Joe forces more of that despair and hopelessness down upon them by saying, hey, I know things are looking pretty bad for you right now, but I got some even worse news. The Eden Zero ship has been taken over by Maria, Daigo, and Seth. I thought these characters were extreme fodder, but they were just playing the long con. Because when Seth blew himself up, he actually turned into his true form, which is a computer program. Then he went inside the Eden Zero ship, hacked the mainframe, and took over the entire thing. And by doing this, he shut down Hermit, Sister, and Witch. So what that means at this current moment in time is that there is no backup on the horizon. Maybe if Captain Connor can do something to get Daigo distracted and Seth distracted, then maybe he can call for help and Justice can come save the crew. That would be lit. Justice or Elsie or maybe the both of them can come save the crew. That would be amazing. I would love it. But I don't know how real of a possibility that actually is. Anyways, when Shiki, Hamura, and Rebecca are told this news, you can kind of tell that Rebecca and Hamura, at this point, they've been overcome with despair. They've been overcome with that sense of hopelessness. And Drakken Joe is just living and breathing this moment. He says, see, it was a learning experience, right? You want to dream about being heroes, going on adventures, fine. But there are some people in the cosmos that you just shouldn't mess with. And then he slams his foot down on Shiki's head and he says, get the message. And like I said, Hamura and Rebecca at this point, they've succumbed to the despair, they've succumbed to the hopelessness. And they're like, this is enough. We understand we've lost, please forgive us, just make this stop. But Drakken Joe isn't paying attention to those two because he understands that he won in terms of those two. He beat them, and that's painful to say, especially as a Hamura fan and stan. He broke her, and he broke Rebecca too. That's why he's completely and solely focused on Shiki at this point. And dude, when I saw Shiki start crying, in that moment, I was reminded that Shiki, like, mentally, he's a kid. He's probably 10 times more terrified than Rebecca and Hamura. But even though he's terrified, even though he's crying, he gives a speech that honestly activated my tear ducts, bro. He said it wasn't supposed to be like this. It was supposed to be a fun adventure. I'd make lots of friends, and we'd all sail through the cosmos together. And Rebecca and Hamura, they chime in saying, it was fun. For the first time, I met people I can call friends. And Shiki, this dude gets up on one knee, on the knee that he got shot in, and he continues by saying, it wasn't supposed to be like this, but I'm not giving up. Someday, I swear I'll beat you. Then I'll be your friend. because you don't have any now. And this moment made me love Shiki even more, because he gets up on the knee that he got shot in and looks the face of despair in the eyes and says, I will beat you someday. I'm not giving up. And on top of that, I'm gonna make you my friend. Even in such a hopeless moment, even when his crew has given up, Shiki stands firm and stands tall as the leader and does not. But then Drakken Joe says, you won't have a someday. And then he shoots Shiki in the head and says, your adventure is over. The chapter then cuts back to Xiaomai and she says, on the 7th day of the 10th month in Cosmic Era X492, Shiki Granbell lost his life. Nevertheless, our story continues. Morning breaks for the 7th day on a world without Shiki. Now, as sad as this chapter is, there is no possible way that Shiki is staying dead. It's not happening. Because Rebecca has the ability to go back in time. She has Leaper. And also Rebecca had that future premonition dream where Shiki is alive. But anyways, thank you all very much for watching. I hope that you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.